All right, you guys, so here it is, 2016 black Nissan R35 GTR next to the Supra, dude. Next to the Supra. They're about the same width. I know the Supra just like looks smaller in general, but you can tell that as far as width goes, they're about the same width. We actually measured the Supra hood and it's 6 feet wide. Crazy. It looks good, man. It looks really good. Massive brakes. And then go back to the back. Also massive Brembos back here. Rear ends on the GTRs, the R35s are by far my favorite. I'm not a big fan of these wings. This would come off immediately. I'd go carbon trunk in a heartbeat. Probably like one of the first things I did would be that. But the rear ends I think look really good. If we compare the both of them, I'd say, man, they're both super aggressive back ends when it comes to the R35 and the Supra. Obviously, my Supra looks a little bit gnarlier because it's slammed on the ground and murdered out, but the both of them look really good next to each other. Wouldn't mind having the garage just stacked up like that, to be honest with you. So, one of the obvious shortcomings on the Supra is this ridiculous rear brake caliper. You know, but I mean, if we're comparing prices here, you're talking about a $100,000 car versus a $50,000 car. So this is technically a supercar. This is not a supercar. This is just a sports car. And like you guys heard before, I've obviously never driven the GTR, so this should be a very interesting experience. Huge shout out to these guys for, you know, doing this for me. The differences, the main difference that I noticed as far as like the 2017 and 2016, this is the 16, so it doesn't have the facelift. The 2017, if you guys go look at Corey's Fresh Kicks videos, that's probably the easiest way to do it. But if you just look up like a 2017 GTR, you'll notice that the front bumpers are a little bit different. I really don't like the 2016 front bumpers. Like they fall super short for me, in my opinion. I think they look very weird and just kind of like bland. So for me personally, I would have to go 2017 for a lot of other reasons as well. But I feel like if you're gonna spend, you know, that much money, you might as well spend 80, 90 to get the one that you want, that you really like from factory. Looking at the interior, we have all black with some kind of fabric. It's not like maybe it's Alcantara. So the interiors they're okay. They're okay. They're not amazing in my opinion. They look a little bit outdated for these cars. If you guys see like Stradman's new GTR that he has this like peanut butter interior that looks so good. And I've never seen a GTR with that interior. If I were to get like a white one, that peanut butter interior, pretty much the spec that Stradman has would be like perfect. I just don't love the interiors on these cars. They're just kind of, nah. They just kind of like fall short for me. Anyways, let's get in, let's drive it. Let's see what this thing's all about. I'm excited. It's completely stock, so it should be interesting. All right, certainly much larger than the Bupra, obviously. Start stop button is in the center now. Let's start this off. So definitely much different than the Supra. Obviously way more room. Definitely not used to the amount of space in this car. This thing is like a land yacht compared to the Supra. It's interesting for sure. All right, we're gonna let her warm up a little bit before we get nasty, but feels nice. Little weird that the paddles are not connected to the steering wheel. I'm not used to that at all. I'm used to my paddles turning with the wheel, you know? Mustang, doing Mustang things, being loud, going hardly anywhere. So this is interesting. It's not amazing. I'm gonna be honest, like I've only driven a block so far. It's just the quality of it doesn't quite hit like the Supra or like my previous BMWs that I've owned. It just seems to be it falls a little bit short when it comes to the quality. So, okay, so I changed everything to R mode, the opposite of comfort. Let's see, turning radius, not so good. Not so good. shoulder these get up, there's just like a lot of like rattles, it seems like. A lot of like plasticky rattles. It's so different from the Supra. Like, wow. Feels good. Feels pretty good. I think before I were to make like a definite decision that I would buy this car, I'd have to drive the newer one as well, like a 2017. It gets up though, I will say that. It feels good as far as acceleration. So this one has 545 horsepower stock. So it's, and that's crank, so it's relatively close to the Supra. My Supra, the way it is now, probably making a little bit more. But you can feel the weight in this car, and just like the general size, like it's just massive. I would say just first experience here, I would take my Supra over this GTR any day, in my opinion. Feels good. You know what feels great about it? The all-wheel drive. I mean, it just goes. It just goes. I can see why people like these. It would be very interesting to drive a GTR that had like the suspension, you know, KWV3s, like what I have in my Supra, tune running E85, something like that, with some downpipes. That would be interesting. There's still something about this car that doesn't feel like it's as nice of a car as the Supra. It obviously is still a really nice car. You know, we're talking about like an $80,000 to $100,000 sports car here. Now, obviously these can make a lot more power than the Supra. I would say relatively easily. And the all-wheel drive in this car is pretty amazing. Like, it just hooks and goes, man. For me, like, maybe I need to drive like a newer and nicer one. I don't know, man. Like this, but I would take the Supra over this all day. It's just the quality is like so much better, it seems like. Oh, dude, this thing hauls ass. It freaking moves. Wow. It would beat the Supra because it hooks. I don't think it would win from a 40 roll though. No, I don't think it would win from a 40 roll. It might be able to reel me in up top, but my car would take it in a 40 roll. The Supra jumps violently at 40, like nasty. All right. Okay. I'm figuring it out. I can see why people like this car. I completely get it. Have you driven an R35? Do you guys own R35s? Have you driven an R35 and a Supra? If you have, please comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts. From my perspective right now, I personally would not spend $80,000 on a car like this. It just does not do it for me. I would keep saving and probably move into something like a Porsche. I can see why people get them, especially if you're like big into drag racing. You know, like the all-wheel drive is definitely something that it works. Like, dude, it hooks hard. But just the quality aspect, like, really isn't there for me in this car. I don't know, dude. It's definitely not what I thought it would be, though. I thought I'd get in this car and love it. I thought I'd be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, it's everything I thought it would be. A little bit of a letdown, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the power feels really good. Obviously, it's stock, and I'm comparing it to a heavily, well, a modified Supra. I don't know. I think I have to go drive a newer one. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I feel like my review right now is a bit like, I don't know. I feel like I'm being harsh on this car, but I'm trying to be like very honest with you guys and give you my like raw reaction and exactly how I feel. I'm not buttering this up at all. I'm just trying to give you guys like my raw and accurate feelings on this car, and it just doesn't quite do it for me, man. Well, one thing is for certain. This thing, from a dead stop, this thing moves out so hard. I just did like a little mini launch, and dude, it just goes. It hooks and goes. So I can see why people would want this car. If you're like a big into drag racing or like dig racing, with the all-wheel drive, it's nasty, man. It is nasty. I'm used to mostly rear-wheel drive cars, like all my BMWs and my Supra, and I'm really just like spinning all the way until like 70 miles per hour. Third gear, fourth gear, then I start getting traction. It's a completely different monster with this car. So I think performance and speed, like if that's all you're really looking for, I think this is a great car. I think that if you're looking for luxury or comfort or quality, I don't know if this is it. Now, mind you guys, I should probably drive like a newer one as well. Maybe it's just because it's a 2016, but I will say there's just things about this car, it's a little bit clunky. Like it's a little bit clunky. Even my E90 M3 with like the DCT transmission was a little bit clunky, but the quality felt so much better than this car. And that was a 2010. This is 6 years later, you know, and it just isn't that quality, that German engineering that you get with BMW. It's such good quality that you just don't quite get that feeling with this car. So I'm just kind of torn. Like the Euro side of me that just loves German BMW build quality, and then like the JDM side of me that loves a GTR, an R35, that all-wheel drive, the 2 turbos, the way it looks. It's two very different people that love the car for its own reasons, but also hate the car for its own reasons. I shouldn't say hate, that's a strong word, but dislike the car for its own reasons. I don't know if I'm like the perfect person to be reviewing this car and comparing it to a Supra, or like the worst person to be doing that. If I'm giving you guys my genuine reaction, my genuine thoughts on just driving this car and comparing it and just getting out of my Supra and getting into this, it's not for me. In terms of the amount of money that it costs, the way that it feels, the way that it drives, comparing that to what I have with my Supra, dude, I'm taking the Supra 10 out of 10. It just feels like a better car. I do love the way this car looks though. I really do. I don't like the front bumper on the 16s, but the 17s I think look really, really good. So let's do a little walk around here. Probably my favorite angle on this car. Good looking car, just don't know that it's worth the $80,000. You know, it's I would expect better quality out of the car that I'm dropping $80,000 on. And that's just me. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion, you guys. But nonetheless, really cool experience. Let's talk about the interior, man, because this is where I'm really torn. The interior just doesn't really do it for me. Like, it just feels like I'm in a like baseline Ultima. Like, it just doesn't really hit for me. When you're in the cockpit and you're driving, bro, there's rattling. Like, all of this is just, all of this plastic is just rattling. And I don't know if that's like a common GTR thing. Like, you guys, if you have one down below, you can comment. Maybe this one just needs some adjusting or something, but there's a lot of rattling. And I think it's just because there's a lot of plastic, to be honest with you. If you look in the Supra, there's a lot of leather, like extended leather wrapping around where plastic and carbon kind of meet. I think that kind of diffuses some of the creaking and stuff, but also the Supra is a 2020 and this is a 2016, if we're being fair. The paddles on the column, really weird to me, like totally not used to that. I prefer having them on the wheel. Not a deal breaker, but something I would mention. There's just a lot of like chipping, and I feel like if it's happening on one car, it probably happens on a lot of these cars. Even though this is a little bit older, I just have such a hard time believing that that I would spend 80 grand on this car. Like, I personally could not do it. The braking is really good though. I will say this car stops really, really well. Braking and the launching are like very impressive in this car, and it handles pretty good. For how big it is, it handles all right. Definitely weird having to use one of those. There's so many things I'm not used to with this car. So this is a 3.8 liter V6, putting out roughly 545 horsepower, roughly 460 torque. I would definitely say that the B58 is much more punchy. It just feels like it snaps a lot harder. But if we're talking digs, this thing, it grabs and goes. The Supra, you're gonna spin. However, you know, to be fair, I haven't put proper tires like Mickey's on the Supra to give it the proper dig launch. I feel like it would be a much different story if I did that, but I don't really like track or race my Supra. It's just more of like a street car. So I don't really know if I'd go that far. I'd love to, but I don't know if I would. This engine's huge compared to the Supra, the B58 and the Supra. I do love how in the Supra everything is so accessible and easy. This car, I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, it just seems like it would be a nightmare to work on. But then again, like, I don't do Nissans. Like, this isn't my world. So this is all foreign to me. I'm so perplexed, you guys. Like, right now, I did not think I would make this video and be like, nah. I really think that I need to find one of these that's like a little bit newer and drive it and see if I have similar feelings. Part of the reason I really like the Supra is the BMW build quality. It's just superior. Like, it's just such a better build quality. It feels better. Leather feels nicer. The interior feels nicer. Even though it is like a Z4 interior, it feels leaps and bounds nicer than this one. And it's like $50,000. I mean, in the next few years, we're gonna be able to find Supras that even cheaper. And you know, being that this is like a 2016 and it's still like an $89,000 car, I'm not doing it. Like, there's no way. There's no way. I would much rather build up my Supra. Well, this has been an interesting day, to say the least. Huge shout out to the guys over at Molinaro. I can't thank them enough. My buddy Ryan over there, you know, he had this car and he's like, hey man, if you want to come in and film it, feel free. And they have a lot of other cars that I have the opportunity to film as well. But you know, this is something that I've wanted. I've wanted an R35 GTR since I was a kid. And so this was really interesting to me. I had never driven one. I knew that, you know, the first step towards moving towards buying something like this or adding one like this to the garage would be to drive it. And I'll be real with you guys, Supra gang. Speed and launch and everything really isn't that important to me to sacrifice the cost and build quality. And I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. I think these are great cars. I think they're really fast. If, you know, goal is to have a really, really quick, powerful car off the line, then this is probably for you. If you want something that kind of has a better package all around, like, I just feel like the cost of the Supra, the power that you get, the way it feels when you drive it, the curb presence, like, I feel like the Supra is the better package. And I really, to be dead ass honest with you guys, I never thought I would say that. I thought for sure, because of the cost of this car, that I would like this more. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I had a blast making this one. Anytime I get to experience something new like this, I love it, dude. It's part of my job now, and the fact that I'm able to do this for you guys, or just for me, and experience these new cars, and even that I'm like thinking about owning one of these is so cool. This is like a dream of mine when I was a kid, and I'm literally living that dream nowadays. And it's amazing what you can do if you just are persistent and positive and you work hard towards the dreams that you have and the goals that you have. Never underestimate yourself. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you to Molinaro Motor Cars. If you guys are looking for a car, check them out. I'll leave their information down below. But just like that, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks. See you in the next one.